Hello and welcome to Extra Extra, the series where I examine the special features on any given release of a film and examine how they help us appreciate some of our favourite films just that bit more. This time we'll be looking at the 2020 4K UK release of Sam Raimi's 1981 horror classic, The Evil Dead. But first, let's take an overview of this release. This particular release of The Evil Dead came out in 2020 and was a HMV exclusive as a part of their Cine Edition line. It comes in a nice hard box and contains a few physical extras as well, so we've got a nice selection of 4 art cards and a really cool iconic poster. This release contains 1 audio commentary, 1 making of documentary, 1 picture-in-picture commentary, 3 featurettes and 1 outtake reel. Now, I have labelled this as a look at the 4K release of the film, but there are no special features on this 4K. Nope, it's all on the bundled Blu-ray, which came out in 2010, I think, something around then, and was included in the Evil Dead trilogy box set here in the UK. And all the special features are on that release, so you can basically disregard this disc because there are no special features at all on this 4K. So, what is on the bundled Blu-ray? Well, arguably the most in-depth feature on this disc is One by One We Will Take You, the Untold Saga of the Evil Dead. This is a 59-minute documentary which examines the trials and tribulations that went into making such a gritty, low-budget film. You get to hear from Rob Tapert, you get to hear from Ellen Sandwides, Betsy Baker, Teresa Tilley, all the people that worked on the film, and they tell their stories of making it and what a kind of balls-to-the-wall close to the knuckle production it was, because The Evil Dead is not a film it's not a polished film. This was literally Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell and Rob Tapert and assembled a motley crew to go into the woods and make this splatterfest, and the actors weren't in the best of conditions. They were working very long hours. The makeup was acrylic paint, which is very toxic. The contact lenses were glass, and you couldn't leave them in for more than 15 minutes at a time. And what's fascinating about all of this is this documentary really... What I found the most fascinating was hearing from Ellen Sandwides, who plays Cheryl, Ash's sister. And she really got put through the ringer making this film. She didn't have the best experience. She, of course, is the victim of the tree rape scene, which is the one scene that Sam Raimi regrets doing. He's spoken about that before. And she takes a stance which I respect, which is, yeah, at the time, all of this was just hell. This was my own personal hell, but now I can laugh about it, and the legacy of the film kind of overshadows all that. But you see in some raw footage that she is going through the ringer in this. She's falling over. She's getting cut to ribbons. The makeup is driving her nuts. She's being pulled along all these wires, and it's no fault of Sam Raimi or anyone. It's just the conditions that they were making the film in. So that's fascinating. Also, we hear from filmmakers like Edgar Wright and Eli Roth about how The Evil Dead has inspired them over the years and influenced their own work. And as a big fan of Edgar Wright, I really didn't expect him to pop up in this documentary. So it was fascinating to see him talk about how much The Evil Dead has influenced him over the years. This is a great documentary, but the one thing that's missing is Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell. Now, my guess is that this was being filmed around the time that Sam was working on Spider-Man 3, so he was probably very busy and couldn't participate, but it means that for as good a documentary as it is, and you get to hear some from makeup artists and producers and Rob Tapert and everyone, it is missing that clear duo of Raimi and Campbell, and that really does let it down. But for, I think it was 53 minutes, I think I said 59 earlier, but it's 53 minutes. It is a great documentary. If you're a fan of the film, I definitely recommend giving it a watch. Now, the personal highlight of the release for me was Treasures from the Cutting Room Floor. This is an hour long. It's an hour-long montage of just outtakes, alternate cuts, raw footage from the set of The Evil Dead. And it's fascinating. You are there. You are literally there in this dirty, dank cabin in the middle of the woods with actors having meltdowns because of the conditions they're in and the stress of the production kind of getting to everyone. And it's fascinating because it's grainy footage, but you are there. You are there with Raimi and Campbell and everyone, and you get to see what the atmosphere was like. You get to see Bruce Campbell get pushed into some shelves and then laugh it off, and you can hear Sam Raimi in the background laughing, 21-year-old Sam Raimi, laughing and brushing it all off, and those two just having a blast together. You really get to, I mentioned Ellen Sandwise earlier, you really get to see the shit that she was put through here, like running through the woods in her bare feet with like just pants on and a shirt, and that's all she has to, like, you can tell that she's freezing cold and she just wants to get this done, and it's really fascinating to watch, and you've got to feel sorry for her because she just gets put through the ringer in this. And how many times have I said that in this already? Yeah, you get to see like wires failing and bits of the set just falling down and hitting the actors on the head. You get a massive sense of the budget of this and how low budget it was and how guerrilla it was. This was Sam Raimi, Bruce Campbell, Rob Tappert dropped out of college and just went, yeah, let's make a film, and went into the woods and did it. And I think that's absolutely fascinating, and that's the highlight of this release for me, is just seeing that. And yeah, Treasures from the Cutting Room Floor. I didn't expect to sit there for an hour and watch the whole thing and just be completely transfixed by just this raw footage, but I was, and it's so entertaining to watch. Just absolutely fantastic. Next up, we have At the Drive-In. This is a really odd featurette. This was originally included on one of the Anchor Bay releases from the early 2000s, and this is Bruce Campbell and Ellen Sandwise and Ted Raimi, and I think there are some other actors there as well. I think Betsy Baker and Teresa Tilly are there. At a drive-in screening of The Evil Dead, and they are giving out free copies of the DVD. So again, I think it was made to promote the new Anchor Bay DVD release in the early 2000s. They've all got stacks of copies in their hands, and they're basically just giving it away to the audience. They're like, Bruce Campbell at one point is like, who's driven the furthest to get here? You? Yep. No. Okay. You're the furthest. We're gonna give you a copy, and it's really odd. It feels like it's kind of taken from a bigger feature. Like, I kind of feel like At the Drive-In, this was kind of a bigger thing with a panel and everything, but this, we just see this excerpt, which, it's nice that it's on there. It's not something I'm ever going to watch again, but it is interesting, like, Bruce Campbell's just being his wonderful, charismatic, over-the-top self throughout the whole thing, and, yeah, it's fun. It's just a really odd featurette. Next up, we have Discovering Evil Dead. Now, I'm not sure what I expected this to be, but it's certainly wasn't what it actually was. This is a 10-15 minute little featurette on how the Evil Dead kind of broke through the home video circuit, particularly in Great Britain, where it was, of course, labelled a video nasty and banned. And Sam Raimi, this is ridiculous. Sam Raimi had to go to court to justify his film being released. You look at it now, it's just like, holy shit, Sam Raimi had to go to court to justify this film. It's so weird. But yeah, you get to hear from from the execs at like Palace Pictures and everything, and how it was released. And what was surprising, actually, they show like pictures of posters of the film, and this pops up, this artwork. I always thought this was new artwork for this particular release, this HMV release. Nope, it's a poster. It's an actual poster that was from the time, and that really surprised me. And that pops up, and yeah, there's not much to it. It is fun to see like the way it kind of broke through the home video market and ended up passing through the ban and everything, and just, it was a really, you get the impression that it was a really different world back then, like late 70s, 80s. How films were made is just a world apart from today, and I just find that fascinating. Then we have a makeup test. This is 2 minutes long, and it's what it says on the tin. It's a makeup test. It kind of feels like something that would have been included in the raw footage, the treasures from the cutting room floor. It's literally 2 minutes long. I don't know why they made this a separate featurette. They really easily could have just made this, edited it into treasures from the cutting room floor. It's cool, but I'm not sure why it had to be a separate thing. We also have a picture-in-picture commentary track featuring talking head interviews with various filmmakers and people who were inspired by The Evil Dead, and some people who worked on it as well. The problem with this track is, and the problem I have with all picture-in-picture tracks, is I don't understand why these couldn't have just been their own documentary. Because they talk about stuff that's happening in the film while you're watching it, and then the little box in the corner, like they talk about the sound design of the swing and everything. But the problem is, I just feel like there's a lot of dead air, there's a lot of time where they don't pop up. Luckily, you can skip on the Blu-ray. If you just skip to the next chapter, it'll skip to the next talking head, which is good, and you can just watch them fairly quickly, but I just feel like if you edited all these talking heads into one documentary, one featurette, and you could call it like the influence of the Evil Dead or whatever, and put those in there and edit in clips to give context for what they're talking about, that would be much... I would prefer that than this picture-in-picture thing. It was kind of a trend in like early 2010s for Blu-rays to do this. Harry Potter did it. I can think of so many things that do this, that have this weird picture-in-picture thing where you get featurettes that you can only watch if you watch the entire film with it. And I've never liked it. I never will like it. It's interesting information, and it's very cool to hear how these people were influenced by this great film, but I just wish that it was included as its own featurette. Lastly, we have the feature commentary with Sam Raimi, Bruce Campbell, and Robert Tappert. This is a really fun commentary. It's funny actually, like when I clicked it and then went to listen to it, I sort of thought, I wonder when this was recorded then. And it dispels any doubts immediately, because right at the start, Sam Raimi goes, "Hi, this is Sam Raimi. It's December 14th, 2009, and we're on the Sony Pictures lot, and we are recording a commentary for The Evil Dead." It's just like, okay, thank you, Sam. And these three are just a delight to listen to, because it's the trio. It's the trio behind Evil Dead: Sam Raimi, Bruce Campbell, and Rob Tapper, the guys who made this, who made this thing, who brought it into existence. And it's fascinating. They don't really talk about the film that much. It's more of just a general discussion between the three friends on how they got finance for it, how they assembled the cast and the pre-production and all that, and what a grueling time it was. There are some really fun anecdotes, like they would, to prevent things from the cabin getting stolen, they would each kind of take turns to stay the night in it. And Bruce Campbell was walking up to the cabin one night, and he saw a guy walking from it with a shotgun, and he was convinced that the guy had just shot Sam Raimi. And then they had this really fun bit of banter where he's just like, "What? You thought he shot me? What did you do?" And like, it's brilliant, and you really get a sense of the chemistry between these three guys, and it's just like, you listen to them, and I could just listen to them for hours and hours, because obviously The Evil Dead's only a short film. It's only like an hour and 25, meaning the commentary's only short. I could listen to these guys go on for like 3 hours about all sorts of stories. They have so many anecdotes about what it was like working on the film, and that is the best thing I can say about this package of extras, is that you get a sense of what it was like on set at the time, and the conditions that they were releasing and producing and making this film under. And you get a sense of that from the documentary, from the raw footage, from the commentary. And so yeah, it's a really fun listen. It's kind of ironic, because the Blu-ray that it's included on, obviously the 4K is in 4:3, the original aspect ratio. The bundled in Blu-ray is in cropped widescreen. So it's really funny, because at the end Sam says, "Oh, what about this Blu-ray transfer that Bob Murawski is working on? You're going to be watching it for the first time in its original 4:3 aspect ratio." He says that, ironically, on a Blu-ray where it only includes the widescreen version. Joys. But yeah, it's a really fun commentary. It's really great to listen to. Highly recommend it. So, what's missing? Well, missing from the 2010 Anchor Bay limited edition Blu-ray, we're missing the Unconventional documentary, the Reunion panel featurette, The Ladies of the Evil Dead Meet Bruce Campbell, Book of the Dead: The Other Pages, Still Gallery, theatrical trailer, and TV spots. Missing from the German Necronomicon DVD, we don't have the Sam Raimi and Bruce Campbell biographies, we don't have Evil Dead: Hail to the King stills and video, and we don't have the German and US theatrical trailers. Missing from the Book of the Dead limited edition DVD, we are missing the theatrical trailer, 4 TV spots, poster and still galleries, talent bios, and the Fanalysis documentary. And finally, missing from the Evil Dead Trilogy UK DVD set, we are missing The Living Love the Dead, Dead Good Marketing featurette, Bruce Campbell, Geek or God featurette, The Incredibly Strange Film Show, and Anti-Hero, an Evil Dead inspired music video. Also, the original film that Raimi and Co made that inspired The Evil Dead, Within the Woods, is nowhere to be found on any of these releases. So that is quite a chunk missing from this particular release. And the problem with that is The Evil Dead is one of those films that has been released so many times over the years on so many different DVDs and Blu-rays and all that so many of the extras are licensed off to different companies. Because of the nature of the film, it's never really had a solid, continuous distribution company. and that is a problem when it comes to porting all of the extras over, which is probably why we're missing stuff like the Ladies of the Evil Dead meet Bruce Campbell and the unconventional featurette and everything. I would like to track some of those down one day, but all in all, I think the extras package that we've got here is pretty solid. It includes the main ones, the Untold Saga of the Evil Dead documentary, the great audio commentary, all that. It includes most of the stuff that you'd want, so it's a solid extras package overall. It would be nice if we could have kind of everything together, but yeah, I don't think that will ever happen, unfortunately. As for the 4K transfer itself, although there's no extras on it, it looks very, very good. There is a lot of grain, as to be expected from a 16mm source. It's never going to look pin sharp, and it's certainly never going to look to the level of a 35mm film, but it's a great transfer, and it's in the original 4:3 aspect ratio, which is a big highlight for me, because I only ever had the trilogy Blu-ray set, which only included the widescreen version, so it's great to have the 4:3 film as it was originally released. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the first episode of Extra Extra. Do you have any releases of The Evil Dead, and if so, what do you think of the extras? Stay tuned for the next episode, and I'll see you next time. Take care now.